2009. Take a look at that orange color. This is a little... All right, we're just editing that video for the 2009 ZX-14. I've got about 50 videos out there for ride reviews and other things like that. If you subscribe, then that'll help me out a ton. If you hit that little bell icon, then you'll get notified for each one of those videos that come out. There's about one a week that comes out. I've got also some ride series and some build series. So I just finished a XR650L where I did a complete build series on that bike and then a ride out to Utah. And I'm just finishing that video up, the editing now. That video comes out November 16th, I think. And so hit that bell icon. You'll get notified when that comes out. Those come out on Friday. And then these videos come out on every Sunday morning, 7 a.m. And we'll look forward to more of these. So let's get this thing going, and I'll bring you into that video here. ZX-14. I think the limited edition is probably color combination and a few other things.
Which I don't know what those are, but it looks like an ostrich seat. And then it's got a cowling that goes over the rear seat there. That comes off so you can carry a passenger. Some cool looks to this bike. If it's hard to tell, it looks like a pretty big motorcycle. That's a ZX-14, so it's the larger size of the sport bike world. Now, is it a sport touring bike, or is it a sport bike or a hyper sport bike? Probably more on the hyper sport bike side of things, but let's take a quick walk around. Let's go really down quick here. We've got the Kaufman exhaust system. Those do have baffles in them, so it does keep the sound under control. We'll hear that in a little bit. We've got some sliders in case you do go down. It'll help save those fairings and such. Let's see what else we got here. We'll go around. It's fully adjustable suspension, front and rear, so you can adjust the preload. You've got to do that by a spanner, but you can adjust the compression dampening as well. It is a chain-driven motorcycle, and here we see the other puck there for the slider. Large brakes. It's got the wave rotors on it. We'll have to test these out. I just rode the bike over here, so I don't have a lot of experience on the bike as of yet. It's got that blacked out windscreen and these cool headlights. I really kind of dig those headlights. The color is sort of depends what you think. I mean, I like the cool flake in the paint. If you see here, there's a crack. Each one of these I've had has had a crack here. We actually ran some what do you call it, there's a repair we did with that to put some what is it called, it's a repair material for the plastics to try and help brace that so it won't crack anymore, and it holds up pretty well. But you do have a little crack there. We had another one with these. It was green. It had the same crack, and I'm not sure why they get those in them. Strange thing. You can buy a whole new front fairing piece for it. You can actually buy the whole new fairing kit for about $500, which is crazy. But really no need there. Tires are in good shape. I think we need to take this baby for a spin, and let's see what that seating position's like. This does have the tank pads on it, kind of helps your knees stay in place, keeps you from scratching that tank. There's the special, not limited, special edition. So I'm not sure what special, I'd have to look that up to see. Got some analog gauges there, really cool looking, and then a display up top. And let's hear what this thing sounds like. There's our sound. The good mirrors, they're out pretty far when I'm sitting here with my hands in. I can barely see my elbows in those mirrors, and I can see behind me pretty well, so they sit out pretty far. They're as far out, or even maybe a tiny bit farther out than the handlebar edges, so people tend to scratch these up. These are not scratched, but I've seen on other ones, since they're so wide, they'll be pulling in their garage and they'll hit them let's do a little parking lot maneuver here. See how this thing handles in a parking lot, doing our U-turns and such. Being a big bike like it is, I would always anticipate that the bike is going to do smooth turns, but not the tightest. And it's kind of what we have here. Nice predictable turns. You got to do them at speed. They'll go, you know, you can lean up on the bike. In other words, you know, lean the opposite direction and it'll turn a heck of a lot tighter. Just doing kind of standard turns here. We'll lean a little bit there. We get a lot tighter of a turn just by leaning the other way a little bit. I'd say pretty good. Not bad for the size of bike. It really does pretty well in a parking lot. The power is so smooth at that low RPM that you can just kind of feather the clutch there and not even have to give it any gas, and it'll pull the bike along. We're gonna go ahead and we'll get out to the tight roads and we'll start it back up again then. All right, we've come out to the Twisties. Hey, actually out by the wineries, and oh my gosh, it is, hey, look at that tractor over there, that baby picking those grapes, and I can smell it everywhere. You can see them off over there picking grapes. They got it all automated, man. When I was a kid, I came out here and picked grapes. It's like my first job. Little knife and slice them off and throw them in a bucket, and you got paid per bucket. Not a lot. Anyway, ZX-14. Absolutely fantastic bike. I think so far I'm pretty impressed just getting out here, but all I've been doing is riding around town a little bit just to get over here. I was going to mention something. So this crack I was talking about in the fairing over here, this little crack here, so that was filled with a two-part epoxy. It's a plastic epoxy, high strength epoxy, and so you fill the crack with it a little bit, put it together, a little pressure, and then on the back side, you probably can't see it, you layer it up a little bit and get it so you've got some strength there, about the same thickness as the fairing. Basically in the end it's about the same strength as the fairing, maybe a little stronger, but you have a crack. Anyway, little blemish. All right, I think we should take this baby out and give her a ride. And we're with a new, see if you can see this new helmet setup here. Instead of riding with my motocross helmet, we got a street bike helmet I sacrificed and screwed some holes in it so I could mount the camera on there kind of semi-permanently, and put the microphone back down in there. Hopefully the sound's a little bit better. Oh, give her a little bit here. Definitely not full throttle, but I could feel myself slide off the back of the seat. I mean, it just like pulls so hard. Oh my gosh. Inline 4, super smooth. Let's put it up in top gear. Nice and quiet. That Kaufman exhaust at 3,200 RPM, I can barely hear the engine, and then when you get on it, man, this thing roars. So it's that's kind of the best of both worlds. I love having the option for the bike to not be too loud. It's certainly not stealth and quiet, but quiet enough that this would not bother the neighbors coming through here. Let's see how this handling is. So comparing this bike to a few others, which I shouldn't do quite yet, but it's feeling more like a sport bike than more than a sport touring bike. They've got the Concours 14 if you want sport touring. This is a big sport bike, but it's interesting, it sort of disappears underneath you. I mean, I look at this bike and it just looks huge when I'm standing next to it, but it just sort of disappears when you're sitting on it like this. You got enough room for a passenger easily. Transition into corners is good. Not 100% neutral. counter steering pulls it right down into the corners. Very stable. But it likes to go straight, so it's not just flicking down into the corners. You push it down in there and it goes nicely. But it does like to return to straight again. Super smooth. Now let's go over this bridge. It's always a little bit bumpy here. Firm, but it's smooth. It doesn't get out of whack at all. So firmer on the suspension than, say, like the VFR or some of the more sport touring. This is sort of a hyper sport bike, I guess. So more in line with, say, like the Hayabusa. Let's see how it is through these corners. Really nice, actually. It really starts coming in its own when you lean it over. The power. The power. The power. It has really got the power. I mean, you just squeeze a little tiny bit of that throttle and it just got a whole lot. Where most bikes, it's like about the amount you give it is about what it gives back. This like gives double. So you just give it a tiny bit of throttle, it gives you a lot. Handling is really excellent handling. Now there's some cool things about this bike that make me just love it more and more and more, and I'll point out a couple of those as I stop here. But the amount of power is just ridiculous. It's sort of, you know, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out a way to explain the power. You know, it sort of seems it's ridiculous because you give it a tiny bit of a twist. Normally, like, okay, you give a bike a twist and it's sort of, you know, this much is equals to some certain amount of power, and then a little more is a little more power. And this, it seems like you give it just about that much of a turn and this thing's going ballistic. I wouldn't dare at this point. I wouldn't dare open that throttle all the way up. It would be way out of control. Let's see. So some things to note quickly is that the bike has no power modes, right? So you don't have to sit there and go, okay, I want it to be powerful now I want it to be docile. All of that is controlled with this right hand. And I'm going to open up this so we're not completely basing out here. There we go. And so your right hand controls all the power, all the traction control, all of that. So you don't have to go through and select modes. You say, hey, yeah, I kind of want to goof off, so let me go through my modes. Man, I love not having to do that. I would strip that stuff off every bike I had if I could, if I knew how, and I'm going to learn how on one bike, one of our next projects. But so that's cool. I love that. I love the tack and the speedometer. I love that those gauges just look awesome. With that little display in the center just to give you some more information. That's really cool. Mirrors are outset really well. Ergonomically, it fits a 6-foot guy pretty darn well. Really nice. Plenty of legroom. Seat is a little slippery. When I got on the gas there, man, I just started sliding back and I just had to hold on. You know, it was one of those holy smokes. Really got to hold on. So maybe a little bit grippier seat would be nice. I kind of would go for that. This is a really nice looking ostrich seat. Ostrich? Whatever. But God, those are mean birds, so I don't want... Anyways. I'd go for a little grippier seat. Just it's nice to be able to move around, but man, if you're really going to do some drag racing or really get on that gas, then that might be in order. We'll give it here just a second. We'll go back down. All right, let's go ahead back down. Mention also, I really like these grips. These are spider grips. They're super sticky, not too fat. Got adjustable levers. You can put those levers wherever you want them. Right now these levers are set a bit high, so I'm going to move those down a bit. Let's do a bit of a more of let's do a bit more touring style, I guess. But still, it just, you know, being able to go into these corners like this, it's really nice. For a big, comfortable bike like this, plenty of leg room. Maybe there's no slow on this bike. I think I could cruise down the highway for long stretches of the road. It would be nice and easy. Brakes are good. Brakes come on really predictably, not overly strong. You know, it's going from one side to the other, it's a little on the slow side. So you're definitely using counter steering to bring the bike over. That could be a bit to do with the Dunlop tires. Dunlop tires tend to go a little slower over, other than super quick. And let's go and cruise nice and slow here. 6th gear. Feel how it is stretched out on the bike. It's pretty nice. A good layout in this cockpit. This double bubble fairing or windscreen does really well to protect you from the wind. I get a little here under the shoulders, which kind of holds me up at what are we doing, 60 miles an hour. 60, 70 miles an hour, it starts to lighten your load off your wrists, so you could do some all-day riding on this, no problem at all, which are really what these bikes are intended for. Some all-day riding, go out and hit some twisties, you know, canyon twisties. This thing would just be awesome. I think you get into some super tight twisties, that's when you got to start, you know, muscling it a little bit. But hey, not overboard. I'm not, you know, take that with a grain of salt. But compared to some other sport bikes, they tend to flick. I wouldn't call this flick, but handles really nicely and nice, predictable. I love it. It's a sweet bike. It's a bike you could live with in kind of every circumstance. It's overly powerful. And we've got the need for speed, baby. You definitely got the speed with this bike for sure. All right, I'll check in with you guys here. All right, what are the last thoughts on this bike? I don't think there's going to be yet a last thought on this bike, because I think we have to do a comparison with this bike and the VFR and maybe a couple others. We'll see. We could do a walk around of all those bikes, maybe a 3-bike review or something. But for now, it's an exciting bike, let me tell you that. But you knew I couldn't just leave well enough alone. I gotta get on it again. Alright, the end of that road's coming up darn quick. Oh my goodness. I don't know, what is that, half throttle? Oh my gosh. This is one of those bikes you're actually afraid. You're afraid to get on I'm afraid to get on the gas 100%. I'd have to go out and practice this for a little bit just to feel confident in getting full on the throttle. But that's just me. You know, I've only ever did a little bit, but man, oh man, you get on that throttle. I definitely have not opened this throttle all the way up. It is a fast bike. Holy smokes. Oh, I'm sure I'd get used to that, and then I'd probably just be blasting all over, but you know, I think you can also maintain on this bike. That Kaufman exhaust sounds really good. Sounds real great. You know, it's perfectly tuned. Perfectly tuned exhaust. Alright guys, hey, that's enough for right now. And we'll see you next time. Alright, hey, I thought I'd touch on the gearbox because I really haven't mentioned the gearbox at all. It is very sweet. Gearbox, a positive shift into those gears, so you feel it go into the gear, but it's not clunky, but you know it went in there, and I like that. The downshift is very smooth, the second gear, and you can shift without the clutch. That's clutchless shifting. Let's go back in a second, third, fourth, no problem. So you get off the gas a little bit, you just blip right into gear. Yeah, that's an awesome awesome gearbox. All right guys, that is the Ninja ZX-14. Boom.